and welcome to the CUInsight Network podcast. My name is Lauren Culp. I'm the publisher and CEO at CUInsight.com, and it's my job on this show to have conversations with all of the thought leaders who support the credit union community. We get to identify those issues that affect credit unions and talk about best practices that exist so that we can all learn from one another and improve our credit unions. I'm excited about today's episode. My guest on our show today is Mark Majeske, the SVP of Faster Payments at Alacrity. Mark, thank you for being here. It feels like just yesterday we were chatting in our video interview too.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. Great to be here.
Wonderful. Well, to kick off this episode, most of us did not grow up thinking we'd get to work with credit unions. So I'm curious, what did you want to be growing up?
When I was growing up, I initially wanted to be a psychologist. And of course, that naturally flowed into banking and payments. So absolutely nothing to do with banking and payments whatsoever, although there are elements. But that is what I wanted to be when I was growing up.
That is so funny. I don't know that I've heard that from a guest before. So.
and you probably won't.
All right. So from psychologist to payments and banking, what was that journey like then to your current role now as SVP of Faster Payments at Alacrity?
Yeah, pretty much when I finally figured out what I wanted to do, I like the idea of melding both business and technology. So in my banking career, I worked at a number of banks, first as business intelligence. So I worked in that area as an analyst, morphed into online banking and mobile applications, which naturally morphed into payments. And then at one point in time, so payments and product development for banks. Then a friend called me up from the clearinghouse and said, we're building this new thing called RTP. And we'd love you to be on the team and help build it. So I spent 5 years at the clearinghouse developing and launching the RTP network, went on to FIS, and now finally to Alacrity. So my expertise today is in faster payments.
Amazing. Well, it sounds like you have a really unique background that brings a lot of insight to the role and to Alacrity. So for Alacrity as a whole, what is that elevator pitch that you would give folks about what you do and where you really add value for credit unions?
What first comes to mind is really, what is our role? And so I see our role as being multifaceted. One is that I think it's our responsibility to identify the needs of the marketplace, both not only in what is happening in the marketplace and how we can keep credit unions at the edge of innovation, but also that timing. It's extremely important that even though you have a great idea, that the timing is right for your customer and the credit union members to utilize a product when we launch it. The other is really our role is to enable all credit unions, large and small, to participate and compete in the marketplace, particularly for faster payments, and to provide credit union members with the opportunity to take advantage of innovation in the money movement space. So really, I see ourselves as a partner that's helping the credit union with not only assessing the market need, but providing that connectivity to various payment rails, but also helping through that journey, which is not always easy.
That is so true. And I know there are a lot of credit unions that want to get involved in sort of the faster payments arena, but there are a lot of hurdles that can exist in that process. So first of all, how important would you say faster payments are to the future of the industry? And assuming that you're going to tell me very important, what are some of those hurdles that a credit union might experience and where can Alacrity help?
Yes, you are correct. I'm going to obviously say the future of the industry is very much dependent on faster payments. But you have to remember, right, when we designed real-time payments, we had to design in not only what was going to be used first, but what was going to be used in the future. So we did a lot of work around that. I think that what we're really trying to do, and I think that faster payments today is much more advanced than it was 5 years ago, and it will be much more so 5 years from now. Part of the reason is we're really creating the new normal, right? The expectation of the consumer in terms of the speed of a transaction or different applications that can be applied. We're really going to start changing the way we do business. With faster payments, I'll be able to close on a house 7 days a week. I don't have to wait for the bank to be open. If I want to buy a car today, I should be able to walk into a dealership any day of the week and purchase that vehicle, whether the credit union is open or closed. So as we start to see more applications, I think we're going to see the the future of faster payments really unfold, because it's really about the member and what they want to do to make their lives easier.
Absolutely. It's really interesting the ways that members have evolving expectations around what we can do. I even trying to transfer money between two of my own credit union accounts and two separate credit unions, and it takes no fewer than 5 business days for me to do that, which feels a little long. So I'm curious, what else really sets Alacrity apart in terms of what you're able to offer for the credit union?
I think that what I hear a lot about is credit unions coming to us and saying, you know what, I'm already on a specific core. And they make the assumption that I can't use a company like Alacrity or anyone in that space to add additional rails to provide a payments hub. And the truth of the matter is that's absolutely not true. That yes, we know that credit unions are oftentimes on a specific core, but I think where we differentiate is the fact that we are able to integrate or interface with many cores that credit unions have. Hence, we're able to bring the capabilities that we're talking about today to fruition for any credit union, regardless of what core they're on. And that's one message that I think sometimes is cloudy.
Absolutely. That's such great information. Well, and for credit unions today, I know there are so many more payment rails than ever before. And you've shared that it's not necessarily which one is best, but maybe having access to everything in one place and using smart routing. So for folks who maybe don't know as much about that, can you share more about payment rail options and what the best practices are and what the importance that you see there is?
Yeah, I think one of the things that are important is that it's really, in my mind, right, it's the member that chooses the rail. And the interesting part to that is they don't even care about rails. So what we're trying to do is build an environment where you can offer options to your member on how they want to receive money, how they want to send money, make it as easy as possible without them having to learn about RTP or FedNow or any other rail that is coming down the road in the next few years. So I think that it really, to me, it really is about the member and what they want to do. And having credit unions and companies like Alacrity providing with options to provide that ease and frictionless experience that we're all looking for.
Right. Definitely. So let's talk about a topic then that's on everyone's mind when it comes to payments, which is fraud. And I know that's always a concern. And in this arena, I'd imagine fraud prevention needs are evolving just the way that the payments industry is. So can you share your insights on what considerations credit unions should make sure that they're addressing if they're planning on moving into faster payments?
Yeah, I think the first step and the first thing that I would do is look at and realize, right, that in a lot of cases, this is the first time that credit unions are doing transactions 24/7. And that's a huge difference. And so what I first look at when it comes to the fraud system is that if I currently have an enterprise fraud system, I'm going to look at it very closely and determine whether it is tuned for real-time payments, which oftentimes it isn't, and it can be, perhaps, right? But the other is, do I need something totally different? And so what we're doing at Alacrity is to provide a hybrid solution. That is, provide a fraud service that attaches to the rails and also shares data and augments your enterprise system. So you don't have to go out and replace your enterprise system. You don't even have to upgrade it per se, but in using our system in conjunction with your system, the two systems speak with one another and it helps you decision transactions in real time. That's the real differentiator here, where most systems are just looking at ACH and wire like they always have. And we know that they have time to decision a transaction. In real-time payments or in faster payments, you don't. So what we're doing is providing that hybrid solution that helps you protect the credit union and your member while also doing 24/7 transactions for the first time.
That sounds like such a great solution for credit unions, especially with the sort of need to evolve as payments are evolving. And I know credit unions are risk conscious, maybe we could say, but definitely.
Yeah, I think everyone is.
Right. Definitely. Well, as we look to the future, what would you say are maybe new trends that you see emerging in financial services regarding payments or not? And what is Alacrity's focus for the road ahead?
I think I'll speak to industry trends and then how we're dealing with that. I think that initially with RTP, it's been out since 2017. We're starting to see that morphing towards banks and credit unions using requests for payments, figuring out ways that they can send invoices through the system. Think about ways that consumers can interact with one another. We're just starting to see that now. When we designed RTP, it had to include that capability, but we knew that it wouldn't be used right away, right? So as things start to mature, that's one area. I think another area we're starting to see is cross-border. So there will be interest. You'll be seeing more and more of it, where people can move money 24/7 to another country in another currency and make that as easy as possible. That to me is a trend that I'm seeing a lot of. And then I think also it's just the continuation of member-centric applications, places where consumers or credit union members can use and move money. And it's not always originated at the bank. There are other services. There's payroll with their company. We're going to be seeing more and more of those applications, and your members are going to want to use them. The other area that I'll just mention briefly is cryptocurrency, because everyone talks about it. The fact of the matter is, the way I look at crypto is, if I'm going to handle the cross-border piece and be able to do FX on various currencies, I treat crypto as another currency. And so if we're standing up a cross-border system, there's no reason why I couldn't include Bitcoin in an FX model and support crypto. So again, I think the market's just looking at that right now. Yes, it's highly volatile in terms of its market rate. If it becomes mainstream, we at Alacrity are going to look at it and make it available. So in terms of how Alacrity is treating these, obviously we're working with banks to create applications for requests for payment. We're working on cross-border and all these overlays, I call them, in terms of products that make customers' lives easier.
That's incredible. There are so many trends emerging, and I know credit unions really rely on their partners like Alacrity to be able to kind of look at the road ahead for them and provide some of these best practices and different pieces of advice and programs and things like that. As we wrap up the show, we always like to have some fun with rapid fire questions too, to let our listeners get to know you a little bit better. So I say the questions are rapid, but your answers don't have to be. So if you're ready, we will dive right into this section.
I'm ready.
All right. What is a recent purchase you didn't know you needed that has just become something you cannot live without?
I recently bought a new car. I had my old car for 19 years.
Wow.
And I was just bored with driving. And I bought a Mini. And I have to say, it exceeded my expectations in that it makes driving fun. And so after driving for so many years and having a car for a long time, that was the ticket for me, that having a car that I actually enjoy getting into and going out and having fun.
I love that. That's awesome. Yep. Yeah, 19 years. It's a big change.
It is. From a technology perspective as well.
Right. Oh, I bet. Will you have this one for 19 more years, you think?
No.
All right. When you hear the word success, who is the first person that comes to mind for you and why?
Two things. I think one is that anyone can be successful. And I think the main ingredient to that is to do something you love. Because if you do that, it's not work at all. Right? So from a career perspective, anyone in my mind is successful if they're doing what they love on a daily basis. One of the opportunities I had at a conference, I was speaking and I got a chance to meet Richard Branson. Wow. And I have to say, he's successful. I mean, because of the fact that he loves what he does. So it fits in with that definition that I was giving. He's a very nice person, very easy to talk to, but he loves what he does.
That is so true. That's an awesome example. I don't know that we've had anyone mention that before.
Yep.
All right. Random question for you. What are you listening to most right now? Is it podcasts? Is it music? What is it?
If I listen to music, which I do, I like all different types of music depending on my mood. I listen to Mozart, but I also listen to the Talking Heads, Queen, Fleetwood Mac, Elton John, Beatles. I'm more of a 70s and 80s person when it comes to nostalgic music, but I listen to everything, and it really depends on my mood.
Awesome. Love that. All right. Any books that you have gifted or you think just everyone should read?
One comes to mind. I think for people starting their career, and I read this book early in my career, maybe that's why I'm not a psychologist today. It's a book called What Color is Your Parachute? It's still in print. I read it, years ago, and still a great book. It really does help you kind of find yourself, figure out what you like to do, and kind of gives you incentive to go out and do that. And so of all the books that I've read, and I've read a lot of books, but this one particularly is one that I gift to people when they're graduating college or ready to go out and start their career.
I love that. We will link to that book for folks who are looking to read that one. The calendar's empty. What would you be doing to unwind outside of work?
What I do is go to my lake house. So I recently purchased one. I do kayaking, hiking, tennis, and I love to cook and bake. And so I do those things to kind of unwind, and I find that it helps me refocus. And I do think about work when I'm doing those things, and what it does is just give me a fresh perspective. So that's what I like to do.
Amazing. That sounds great. Well, we're going to link to everything that we talked about in the show notes today, but you've shared so much good information for folks on payments, on real-time payments, faster payments. My last question for you is, do you have final thoughts you'd like to share or final asks of our listeners today?
I have a couple. I think one message is don't be hesitant about entering the faster payments arena. I know that at first it can seem complicated and confusing, but companies like Alacrity, fintechs in general, are here to be a partner and to help you get through the journey. I've had an opportunity to work with a multitude of banks and launching them for the first time in RTP while I was at the clearinghouse through FIS. And here at Alacrity. And I can tell you there's nothing like seeing your first faster payment sent into the credit union. It's exciting, and it really is part of history. So, I'd like to urge people to feel free to, utilize fintech partners and jump in the water, because I think in the next 5 years, you're really going to see a lot of changes. I think it's important to get your infrastructure set to do something in faster payments. So do it now and then add different rails as you go forward. Sort of use a grow as you go model. That seems to make a lot of sense. In my mind, credit unions make a huge difference every day for members. I happen to use 2 credit unions for my regular banking. Faster payments help strengthen the credit union's role in future and innovative applications. So jump in, the water's fine. It'll be an interesting ride. But the day that you start to get transactions and send transactions, you'll love it.
Well, what a perfect way to wrap up the show. I know that folks will probably have some more questions for you. We did a webinar recently. We have the 3 questions video interview, but we'll link to your contact information for folks who are interested in learning more and getting in touch with you and your team. Mark, thank you again for being on the show. It's so great getting to chat with you. And thanks to all of our listeners today for tuning into the CUInsight Network podcast. We'll be back again next time.